What's up, everybody? It's your girl T, and I just saw War Dogs. Let's talk about this movie. War Dogs, if you've seen any of the posters, they look a lot like the Scarface poster. It's a clearly direct influence, and that plays a lot into the actual plot of the movie. Just to give you a quick bit of background on the actual bones of the movie, this movie was directed by Todd Phillips, who actually teamed up with Bradley Cooper to produce it. This is, of course, the same two people behind the Hangover trilogy, and one of those movies was good. Setting the Hangover movies aside, War Dogs is actually a really good movie. I really enjoyed watching it. I was excited most of all just to see a movie that wasn't a superhero movie, that wasn't a sequel. It's really exciting for me just to be able to go to the movies and see someone tell a different story. War Dogs is based on a true story, and they actually put a chyron up of that at the very beginning of the movie. Now that always kind of makes me roll my eyes a little bit because based on a true story is not the same thing as an actual true story, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's not a documentary. They base it on true events and then they make it into a fictional movie. I feel like filmmakers feel like they need to include that because if it is in fact based on a true story, it lends some street cred to the film itself. And in this case, the names of the characters are actually the names of the real guys being portrayed. In this instance, I feel like Todd Phillips has moved beyond the sort of broad comedies that we've seen him do with the Hangover movies, and he's kind of taking the route that Adam McKay did with The Big Short, where it's not straight comedy, it's not straight drama, it's somewhere in between. It's just really cool and interesting storytelling. In the very beginning of the film, I was a little bit nervous because it starts out feeling like a trailer. It almost felt like I was watching Pain and Gain again, especially because it's actually set in Miami for a lot of it. But eventually, and not even eventually, I'd say relatively soon, it sort of gets out of that style of filmmaking and it becomes its own thing. And I think that it does it in a very, very interesting and cool way. Even though this is based on a true story, I don't really want to give away too many plot points, so I'll be semi-vague on a lot of the things that actually occur in the movie. The story centers around these two guys, Miles Teller and Jonah Hill, who get into arms trading, basically. I mean, it seems like a strange topic to cover, but that's kind of what makes this movie interesting. It's not really something that I've seen discussed in any real way in a movie before, and it's not something that I think the average person knows a whole lot about. Just to compare it to The Big Short one more time, I think this movie does a pretty good job of explaining how exactly two guys who are 22 years old actually get into dealing arms on such a large scale, and they explain it in a way that's accessible. While it is a little bit abbreviated and there are still a couple of moments where it's just like, oh, I don't exactly understand how they got to this point, I still think overall they do kind of explain how this could have happened. Naturally, once these guys get into trading arms, being 22-year-old douchebags, they end up in over their heads and a lot of drama ensues. Suffice to say, the performances are great. I think a lot of people, including me, have a thing where you don't really want to like Jonah Hill for one reason or another, but the fact of the matter is he's a great actor. He's really, really good at what he does. He takes on these really peculiar and interesting characters, and he makes them his own, and he's completely believable while doing them. The character he plays is so over the top, it's almost hard to believe that he did it in a convincing way, but he really did. I think that Miles Teller is a really solid actor, but he's in a strange position to me where more than once I've seen him be the leading man playing second fiddle, if that makes any sense. I feel like in Whiplash and again here, in Whiplash, J.K. Simmons, and in this case, Jonah Hill, it's almost like the supporting character overshadows his own performance and he's almost not the leading man of his own movie. And of course, Jonah Hill is, the bigger, more bankable star, but, he is the supporting role and yet he still manages to outshine Miles Teller. Having said that, Miles Teller does do a great job with the role that he's given. If you're curious, you can look these guys up. They are on Wikipedia. You can read about what really happened to them, but if you don't want to know and you don't want to spoil the movie, obviously don't do that. It's a really challenging issue to discuss the US government and how they've handled arms trading and their procuring of weapons for our military and things like that, and just looking at it from an actual point of it being a business. But that is the stance and the approach that this movie takes, and it's such an insightful, interesting look into a world that a lot of us just don't really know about. So I would definitely recommend this movie if you were curious about it. It's interesting because Sausage Party is carrying over this week and then War Dogs is opening, and I feel like you've got a Seth Rogen movie and a Jonah Hill movie competing against each other. But having seen both, they are completely different. War Dogs is not a straight comedy. It's got a lot of really funny moments in it, but it actually discusses and investigates a lot of issues that we should all really be discussing and thinking about, and it has a lot of humorous moments to break those up. Let me know if you're planning to see War Dogs this weekend, or if maybe you've already seen it somehow in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure you subscribe on your way out, and thanks for watching. You're the war now, dog.